Hey guys, I'm Keely and my co-host here is Amber, and welcome to the Brown Girls Guide podcast where we discuss everything we wish we knew growing up.
Hey guys, yes, welcome to our final episode for season 1. We actually can't believe that this is our 12th recording, and we've really grown to love recording this for you every week and getting to know so many of you through your comments and your messages. And I know we say this all the time, but thank you guys so much for listening and engaging.
It's been such a fun journey starting this podcast and engaging with everyone as we grow. We can't wait to start season 2. We already have some interesting ideas and topics planned. But for now, let's wrap season 1. It's the end of International Women's Month, and we thought that it would be great to talk about this and share our thoughts on things we think still need to change on a universal level for women across the world. Before that though, Amber, what are you drinking today?
Okay, so I have to say that I really love this topic because you know I enjoy a good rant.
Yeah.
but in terms of wine, I'm having a glass of the Van Loeffler Pinotage. It's probably my favorite one, my favorite Pinotage out of them all. What are you having?
I am having a good Checkers Oddbins. Let me just see. It is a Checkers Oddbins, and to be more specific, it is Cinso. I think that's how it's pronounced. I have no idea. It's a Cinso
I have even
Rosé.
less of an idea, so don't even ask me.
Yeah, it's a Cinso Rosé Oddbin number 74, if anyone is wanting to know. It is a wine from the Swartland somewhere, and I honestly have no other information other than it's meant to have engaging aromas of raspberry and pomegranate and a watermelon and cranberry finish on the palate. I have had 2 glasses now, and I honestly can't tell you if there is watermelon or cranberry when you finish the sip on the palate. But anyway, now that we're sitting back with our wine glasses, let's jump straight in.
Just to explain to everybody, the reason we're not together this week is because we have to keep our doggies separate because Joker and Sam both have kennel cough, and we don't want to transmit it, through Kelly and I chatting, then I give it to Arch. So
exactly.
That's why
and
we're
for
doing
those who
a
don't
Zoom
know who
recording.
Joker and Sam are, they are my fur babies and they have kennel cough. It's like COVID for dogs, and we don't want to risk that. So, okay, now that we are sitting back with our wine glasses, let's jump straight in. I know that we don't really go like big on International Women's Month in South Africa because we celebrate Women's Month in August. But I want to know, Amber, how do you feel about Women's Month in general and having these months or days dedicated to women?
Well, I think it's great to have days and months like these dedicated to not just women, but in general to groups of marginalized people. Like there are so many issues that we as women go through that get a well-deserved spotlight during this time. And like for the most part, everyone responds positively. I think with International Women's Month, we also have a chance to see the way people in other countries compare to us with how far they are with women's issues. Like, for example, abortion is something that's quote unquote normal to us just because it's legalized. I'm not dismissing like any cultural biases here, of course, because that's a big deal. But legally, we're allowed to do it. But in countries like El Salvador, where women have been fighting to change this their whole lives, they can't even get abortions in cases of rape and incest, for crying out loud. And they face up to 50 years in jail if they are caught and sentenced. And that to me is just, it's fucking ridiculous. But how do you feel about these kind of holidays or months or commemorations?
It's crazy to think that there are countries around the world where abortion isn't legal. And countries like in the United States, for example, the rights of women are being threatened as a result of conservative parties and people being in power. Anyway, that's a whole other topic altogether, or at least that probably deserves its own episode. To answer your question, I agree that it's great to have spotlight shining on issues that affect women and other marginalized groups during this time. But I do feel that we often forget about these issues as soon as the months are over. And that's very annoying because women, people of color, and other marginalized groups deserve to be celebrated all year round. But I know that we are far from that, and this is the next best thing, I guess. Okay, so I just want to share that one of the best stories I read this month, because it's International Women's Month, is about the technology that is used for Wi-Fi and how that tech was created by a woman. And I just love these stories because outside of Women's Month, when really are people sharing these stories? Have you read any great stories or heard anything awesome about women this month?
Of course, that's a great story. I've been following, I don't know if you read Pop Sugar.
Yeah,
It's a live website. And they have a vertical on Women's History Month. and they've been sharing some amazing stories by women all around the world. And one of my favorite pieces is the one about climate change heroes. Not that it's a topic I'm super into, but it's nice to see this kind of news. And I read about a woman in Uganda. Her name is Vanessa Nakati. I think that's how I pronounce it. She is a climate change activist that was inspired by Greta Thunberg. And she started her activism in like late December of 2018. But I'll be sure to share links so you and our audience can read up on her later.
Please do. I really love these types of stories. Women leading the charge in fields that are dominated by men is always great. There is still so much work to be done though, both internationally and locally. Let me start with the young girls. I really, really, really wish that we would talk more about the capabilities of women and the success of amazing women at school level. Because imagine like being a young girl in a classroom learning about phenomenal women like the few that we just mentioned.
I know, like there was so little that we were taught about badass women that actually stuck with me. Like I think the only one I can think of right now, which is obviously not the only one we were taught, but I think of like Mary Curie and like the whole thing she did with radium. Like I remember that, but I wish it was of as much significance as the maths we were taught or like the old school Shakespeare that we had to learn. And I mean, it doesn't have to be that girls are only told about the most amazing woman or the top person who's ever done anything in life, which is great, but just women in general doing cool things in the kind of careers we didn't actually think we could get involved in because they were just for men previously.
I remember briefly learning about Mother Teresa and people like her, but no one who's doing cool stuff in science or a woman who's been super awesome as head of marketing or whatever. I love that girls today have so many role models like this, but I think it still needs to make its way into schools. There's a show on Netflix called Emily's Wonder Lab, and it's a scientist who tests various things with kids. She's so fun and down to earth, and she always posts on Instagram about how she gets messages from parents and girls saying how much she inspires the kids, and I just love to see it. Who is a standout woman in your life right now, Amber?
That's a good question. I don't really know that much about what's happening in the tech and science world when it comes to women because, you know, me, that's really my vibe. But I've been so in awe of the women doing cool things locally. There are a lot of women who I've seen become entrepreneurs and just running successful brands like Nomfund and Jiba of Chic Cosmetics, like Rabia who founded Switch Beauty. And there's also Brett Robson and her amazing clothing line, as well as Tara Cannon and Aisha Baker who have their own lines too. And over the last year, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there have just been so many women killing it with their business ventures from like makeup to hair stuff, clothing, fitness even. And that's been really inspiring to me. That's what makes me feel like we can do so much with this podcast because I've seen so many women excel over the last year. What about you?
I've seen a lot of women either start or scale their businesses over the past year and a bit, and they've all been local. I used to work with this one lady. Her name is Iman Jatim, and she's now a personal trainer for women only and runs her own fitness company. I've been very inspired by her journey. Also, Cooked Inc., a local food business, is run by a woman, and the way she runs her business, she just I honestly love watching her stories because she gives like so many like behind the scenes, like sneak peeks of her admin and just the way that she does everything. And I just love to watch it. And in terms of the sciencey stuff, Shireen Mento is a Cape Town local who is making waves in the science sector. She's attended international events and is a published scientist in prominent scientific journals. Not that I've read any of those, but it's good to know. In terms of obstacles, what do you think are some of the biggest ones for women right now? It can be anything, like from things in their careers to their personal lives to on the streets or whatever.
Oh, this one is a biggie for me. I think the biggest threat to us is our safety. And I cannot believe how unsafe we are everywhere, but especially here where we live in South Africa. Like we don't have the freedom to feel comfortable anywhere. You can't be comfortable at home, walking anywhere. If it's in a park, to the shop, in a mall, you're not safe in your car, you're not safe with your partner or at clubs. There's just not one singular space where you as a woman can be like, I am completely safe. And just the reality of that is so terrifying that I don't like to think about it most days. I just wish we could feel safe to exist, basically. Yeah. There's not even any tips I could give for us to feel safer. But if I did, that list would be like 100 pages long. And if we're being honest, the problem isn't for us to solve. We aren't the ones who have been, hunting us down, killing us, stalking us, kidnapping us. It's up to the government and men to start protecting us.
The other day, literally just like 2 days ago, I went to the bathroom at the waterfront and I took my pepper spray with me because, you just never know. And the sad reality is that every woman has felt unsafe more than once or twice in a lifetime. In fact, 3 or 4 times, even more than that. And I honestly hate that. The safety aspect is a huge thing for women. I also think that there are huge strides to be made when it comes to just getting women and women of color, especially, into management roles in corporate companies.
Mm.
And that kind of irks me a lot, especially because I'm so ambitious and I would like to be in a management role one day. But I mean, within our company, it's different because I know that there is a path for me at least. But I think that for many other corporate companies, it's not the same, and that really needs to start at hiring level. And it's also just the company culture. And so, if it's not in your company culture to have women at top level, then it's almost never going to change.
That is so true. And so much has to change in corporate to have women in positions of power. Luckily, we have seen a lot of improvement, especially in our industry. And like you said, where we work now, like there's a path for you, there is that room for growth. And I hope we can make more strides for women of color to be in management positions. I don't even want to get started on the culture thing because that is a beast on its own to be tackled. I just think that women already have such a hard time getting into these corporate spaces or even management that having to take on the culture or call it out can just be so tiring.
That is 100% correct. I'm actually just tired thinking about it and talking about it. And that's also an issue. Women just get so worn down by fighting the system and the issues that we face that eventually we just keep quiet. And it is
Yeah.
exhausting. However, there are women who are fighting the good fight on our behalf, and we can be allies to them and their cause. Off the top of my head, there's the Don't Shush Me movement on social media, where women of color are speaking up against racism that they have experienced within the social media space. I'll link to it in the episode description and share it on social media because it's really a lot of information. But they really are great influencers to follow if you want to follow women using their voices for good.
That actually sounds amazing. I would love to check out that movement and see what's been said so far. And it's true what you said earlier. It really is exhausting to have your very existence be something you have to fight for. Like, why can't we all just have the privileges of a white man? Like, I'm so tired. And speaking of social media, let's not get started on the harassment women face on all social networks just for existing. You can't post anything without men feeling like they need to offer an opinion or just like objectify. You don't even have to be in a bikini to be objectified. You could be standing there fully clothed cooking something and someone will say something offensive or misogynistic. Like, you can't just post your life the way you want to.
I've seen so many people actually post about that recently where they just like post like a random picture and some man usually feels that they have the right to just say like, oh, you look old, or I don't think you're doing that right. But anyway,
I don't really like makeup. Like, then you don't wear makeup. Leave me alone. Goodbye.
but yeah, the harassment is a lot. And people think because it's on social media that they can just say whatever they want. But I want to say that nothing actually gives people the right to comment on women's bodies, their personal lives, or whatever. Just like give it a like and move on. Or don't even give it a like, but move on.
Yeah, move on. But I think actually this was a nice roundup, wasn't it? Like, do you have any last thoughts before we sign off? I don't think this is an episode where we actually have tips.
I don't have any tips for women, but if you are a guy listening, I have a tip for you is to just be lekker and don't be a doos. And really that is all that I have to give.
I love that. Just don't be a doos, guys, please. And I know like a lot of the guys in my life are sick of me because I'm always the one that will say like, excuse me, what do you mean by this? Why are you objectifying this person? Why? And I will stay on their asses. I don't care. And to the women listening, you don't owe men or anyone politeness. You don't ever owe them that. Just be who you are. And don't feel pressure to do anything that doesn't sit right with you.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, I think we will say thank you once more for listening. The last 3 months have been so amazing. And we'll be back very soon with season 2. And I really think you're going to love what we have in store.
I actually cannot believe that it's been 3 months already. It just feels like the other day that we started. But yes, we definitely have awesome stuff planned for season 2. And you can keep up to date on our plans by following us on social media. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Brown Girls Guide Pod and on Twitter at BGG Pod. And you can also drop us a mail on info@browngirlsguide.co.za.
Yes. And of course, one more thing, as always, you can visit our brand new website. It's browngirlsguide.co.za. You can find blog posts of previous episodes on there and some more about us. So until next time, bye.
Bye.